All
Hi,
righty.
everybody. This is Nathan Agan. Welcome back to the Working Actors Journey Rehearsal Room. We're back for week number 2 with acting the role of Beatrice from Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing. And yeah, we're going to keep exploring this character. If this is your first session, pause here, go back, check out week 1, catch up on all the stuff everybody discussed last time, and the conversations will just keep going deeper and deeper. So the only other thing I want to mention is if you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you're on the podcast platform, subscribe. Let people know about this. Click those notifications so you find out when things are coming out. If you'd like to support the project, we are on Patreon, so you can help this continue to grow and develop. And I think that's it for me. There's more notes and things like that below on YouTube or in the podcast description if you're looking for links for either things that were talked about or to learn more about what this is, or to follow along with the scenes. All those links are below. So that is it. I'll turn it over to the group. Have a great session, and I'll try to catch you guys at the end.
Thanks, Nathan.
Great.
Thank you. So I'm going to start a little differently this week. Speaking to my brilliant friend, Jeff Steitzer, who manages to find these archival videos and things like that. We were talking about Much Ado, and apparently, no, not just apparently, there was a recording of the Much Ado About Nothing at the National, the first company at the National. And Maggie Smith plays Beatrice, and her then husband, Robert Stevens, plays Benedick. And it got me to thinking about performance, in that the differences of how the scene is played. So I've got 4 little clips of the very first scene. It would be interesting to discuss a little bit, and then we can go dive in and get to the meat of knowing what the meanings are. Just watch this. See if I can do it. Okay. There we are. And share. She did it. Okay, this is, I have to say, is one of my favorites. This is Catherine Tate and David Tennant. And also notice the staging. Is it public? Is it private? What do you think about either choice?
Can you do full screen?
Yeah.
I wonder that you will still be talking, Signor Benedick. Nobody marks you.
What? My dear Lady Disdain, are you yet living?
Is it possible Disdain should die when she has such meat food to feed it as Signor Benedick? Courtesy itself must convert to disdain if you come in her presence.
Then is courtesy a turncoat? But it is certainly
Erica.
all ladies.
Erica.
Yeah.
And I would, I
We're
could
not
find it
able to hear it, sadly. I'm sorry, we're not able.
Truly.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe I set us astray with the full screen. Maybe it doesn't work with full screen.
Oh no, so you missed all that beginning?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, hold on. I'll just start it again. I will eat whatever he lays out for me. Okay, so now
I wonder that you will still be talking, Signor Benedick. Nobody marks you.
What? My dear Lady Disdain, are you yet living?
Is it possible Disdain should die when she has such meat food to feed it as Signor Benedick? Courtesy itself must convert to disdain if you come in her presence.
Then is courtesy a turncoat? But it is certain I am loved of all ladies, only you excepted. And I would I could find in my heart that I have not a hard heart, for truly I love none.
A dear happiness to women!
that is the first. Let's see if I can bring this down. Gotta move maybe you guys over here. There. And then this is from the movie, the Branagh movie. Okay, here we go.
daughter.
Her mother hath many times told me so.
Were you in doubt, sir, that you asked her?
Signor Benedick, no.
If Signor Leonardo be her father, she would not have his head on her shoulders for all Messina, as like him as she is.
I wonder that you will still be talking, Signor Benedick. Nobody marks you.
What, my dear Lady Disdain? Are you yet living?
Is it possible Disdain should die while she hath such meat food to feed it as Signor Benedick? Courtesy itself must convert to disdain if you come in her presence.
Then is courtesy a turncoat. But it is certain I am loved of all ladies, only you excepted, and I would I could find in my heart that I had not a hard heart, for truly I love none.
A dear happiness to women. They would else have been troubled with a pernicious suitor. I thank God and my cold blood I am of your humour for that. I had rather hear my dog bark at a crow than a man swear he loves me.
God keep your ladyship still in that mind, so some gentleman or other shall scape a predestinate scratched face.
Scratching could not make it worse, and for such a face as yours were.
Well, you are a rare parrot teacher.
A bird of my tongue is better than a beast of yours.
I would my horse had the speed of your tongue. But keep your way, in God's name, I have done.
You always end with a jade's trick.
Okay. Then the recent one in at the public theater in the park.
Oh, be her father. She would not have his head on her shoulders, as like him as she is.
I wonder that you will still be talking, Senor Benedick. Nobody marks you.
What, my dear Lady Disdain? Are you yet living?
Is it possible Disdain should die while she hath such meat food to feed it as Senor Benedick? Courtesy itself must convert to disdain if you come in her presence.
Then is courtesy a turncoat. But it is certain I am loved of all ladies, only you excepted, and I could find in my hort that I had not a hort. For truly I love none.
A dear happiness to women. They would else have been troubled with a pernicious suitor. I thank God and my cold blood I am of your humor for that. I had rather hear my dog bark at a crow than a man swear he loves me.
Oh, God, keep your ladyship still in that mind. So some gentleman or other shall scape a predestinate scratched face.
Scratching could not make it worse, 'twas such a face as yours were.
Okay, and then finally, Maggie Smith.
If Signor Leonardo be her father, she would not have his head on her shoulders for all Messina, as like him as she is.
I wonder you will still be talking, Signor Benedick. Nobody marks.
What, my dear Lady Disdain? Are you yet living?
Is it possible Disdain should die when she has such meat food to feed it to Signor Benedick? Courtesy itself must convert to disdain when you come in her presence.
Then is courtesy a turncoat, but it is certain I am loved of all ladies, only you excepted, and I would I could find it in my heart that I had not a hard heart, for truly I love none.
A dear happiness to women, they would else be troubled with a pernicious suitor. I thank God in my cold blood I am of your mind for that. I'd rather hear my dog bark at a crow than a man swear he loves me.
God keep your ladyship still in that mind, so some gentleman or other shall scape a predestinate scratched face.
Scratching could not make it worse, and for such a face as yours.
Well, you are a rare parrot teacher.
A bird of my tongue is better than a beast of yours.
I would my horse had the speed of your tongue and stayed his course so well, but keep your way a God's name. I have
You
done...
always end with a jade's trick. I know you won't.
That was a choice that kind of made me go, whoa. Okay, stopping the share. I showed that so that we could look at the language, the shape of the language and how everybody used it. The paces were so different. And everything from what I loved is like the difference in period for the time that the production was. Using sounds, contemporary sounds, Benedick, and all this kind of stuff that are perfectly valid and fun to play with. I was very shocked actually by the ending of the Maggie Smith and Robert. Didn't it take you by surprise? But it's valid. I would be curious to know how the rest of the scene played out from that beat, because it seemed like everybody was sort of like piling in at that point. What I found interesting with the Emma Thompson, there was a sorrow in her that was there. And what was interesting, whether Branagh meant to or not, her frame at the end, she was alone in the frame. And everybody was behind him, which just kind of broke my heart. And then David Tennant and Catherine Tate, you know, and I loved his accent. I know that's his actual accent, but I loved the flavor and the melody that he brought to it, and not being afraid of, like, I think this is the license that I would love people to learn with Shakespeare. Is like when he said, "What, my dear Lady Disdain, are you yet living?" Just, you know, sets it up just beautifully. Melody, rhythm, public versus private, playful cover, like Catherine Tate clinking David Tennant's cup like a little toast. And nobody was paying attention to them at all. Everybody was upstage ignoring them. And then you have the ones where everybody's like, oh, they're going at it again. We're going to watch Maggie Smith and Robert Stevens. And it's just an interesting, like, nobody's really paying attention to them in the Branagh until towards the end of their sniping. And it's just fascinating to me. And just, I absolutely love how different every single one of them are. That this language is, there's a basic beginning, middle, end to that first scene, as all scenes are, and they all followed it. But the difference in motivation that they decided to go at it with was really fascinating to me to, you know, see. What did you guys think? What did you notice?
I mean, I was reflecting on my own personal preference of, just as a personality, how I would like to have a conversation like this with someone I have that kind of a relationship with.
Yeah.
I noticed that some of the clips we watched were more performative, in that the character was performing for her or his audience. And I simply gravitated towards the more intimate conversations. Like, I gravitated towards the Catherine Tate and David Tennant one because of that intimacy and that the normalcy, or the real, I think I'm a more realism based performer. So I like the normalcy that is established in those moments, or like before the audience turned towards them in the Branagh version. That also could be because I've seen those two clips before and the other two I hadn't. So I wonder if it's a familiarity thing, but I think that's also part of it. Like, I just gravitate towards realism based conversations.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else?
I mean, I guess what I was also noticing was that even though the Tennant and Tate one, no one on stage is paying attention, so it is conveyed as a private conversation, there is an awareness of the audience on both of their parts. There is a real relationship happening with the audience that's in front of them, which was interesting, I thought. Because I was like, it doesn't totally feel like a private conversation. It still feels like they're trying to one up the other, but like somehow they have this insight into the fact that they're still being watched, even though the people in their world are not watching them.
Right. And I was really sad that clip was shortened. We didn't get to see the very end of it when she does Jade's trick to him.
Yeah.
You know? So we don't know how that evolved with that one. I thought it was curious that they'd cut it there. But
because in the other ones, I mean, in the Branagh, it becomes so personal in that moment. It's completely personal and private. And there is like a whole little journey that he's built in the way he's directed it, where like you start off and they're having a personal conversation, then they're having a public conversation. He exits gloriously, and she is left with this long-standing resentment of like, well, that's our relationship. There we go. That kind of sums it up. I feel like that's what that scene is telling me.
It's interesting. the idea of, that it would create an even bigger challenge for him than to win her. Because there was so much pain and history in her pain there, for me, in that window. And it was almost more of a private aside. You always end with a Jade's trick.
Yeah.
Rather than an accusatory thing that maybe he didn't even hear. To me, the way I watched it, it struck me as that was private. And
well, yeah, because
seem
then
like he
like
did
in the
it.
public one, you're trying to one up with that, right? So, or in the Maggie Smith version, which is really interesting, you just lose it on that one, and there's a whole nother level of something going on there.
Totally is.
But yeah, I feel like in the Branagh, it feels like a statement that's not just about this is how you win conversations, but this is what you do between the two of us. You bow out fast.
Interesting.
There's the history. It's rich.
Totally the history. Yeah.
What's interesting, I think you were talking about public and private and performative, and I think there's an aspect of being performative in front of a group for the audience or in front of their peers, or performative for each other too, in order to protect and guard up and yeah, again, to protect what has happened and to show that you are unaffected by it. And I think that even in those performative spaces, whether it's for the audience, whether it's for their peers or for each other, it was everything to watch the reactions of the jibes and retorts going back and forth and flying, and who was affected by what. Like even in that last one, at is it the Delacourt, that last one?
Yeah, the one before Maggie Smith. Yes, the one at the Delacourt.
His reaction at the end, with the scratch face, and what he took from that, because they were going back and forth and it was very lively, but he stopped at that, almost like he was put on his heels a little bit. And I think for each one of them, each one of the clips, there was a different relationship and a different history and different choices for that were being made. And I thought what you said previously last week, that is everything, and that changes everything. And especially in how those reactions happen after each retort.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I hope you got something from that as we now dive into the nitty and gritty of figuring out what it is that Bill's given us to say. So
one more thing about watching these clips, which was interesting, was watching theater. I love watching theater, but there's something about watching Emma Thompson's face that just gave me more insight into the character than watching, for example, Catherine Tate or Danielle Brooks from, like a wide shot type of thing. So if Emma Thompson was the only Beatrice I saw in those 4 clips who really enjoyed, she got turned in onto that conversation. She said, oh, I here's my partner, here's the person I get to. The other people I didn't necessarily see that with, and that could have just been because we're watching a theater performance as, like a wide shot type of thing, but I saw something in her eyes that I didn't see in anybody else, and I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I also feel like, sorry.
No, go.
I think that moment, I really love Branagh's direction, and I love the way he directs that film. And I think that, because of course I start looking at the whole story, and that moment where I always feel, every one of these scenes, I always feel like Beatrice is quicker than Benedick. She's really quick, and I feel like that's why he ends with a Jay's trick, because he's he's sort of running to keep up with her. I don't know if that's my bias, but that's how it feels to me. And then to have Emma Thompson's portrayal of Beatrice and to sort of show her isolated makes me think of 2 things. I feel like Branagh is sort of setting up the shaming, right? That Benedick is playing to the crowd, and he's it seems to me that he's the one who's kind of leaning into that public space and then walks away and kind of leaves her. And it makes me think of, the way he directs the wedding scene. It's super gendered. So you see all the men on one side and all the women on the other, and Benedick's the only one who, aside from the friar, who's sort of calm and then ultimately kind of steps over to the female side. So I feel like I kind of see this, to me, it sort of sets up Beatrice for how frustrated she is, and that even that kill Claudia line, and not trusting and wanting to trust this love for Benedick. You know, I feel like it gives that actor a lot to work with as Beatrice. If she does have that moment where she feels a little silenced, powerless, you know.
And it's interesting to see when he really brought everybody's attention to them. That nobody was really paying attention.
Yeah.
Then he sort of opened it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And everybody started to look and everything. And suddenly it was a crowd of people watching Beatrice and Benedick again. But, you know, it's a fascinating thing to play with. Like, we'll do that. We'll get through the meeting and then we'll try it. Like, if it's public for everybody else's benefit, you're covering, or if it's private, what happens then? Is it too much? You know, but we're for all the scenes, yay. So let's turn our hymnals to 1-1. I pray you, Signor Monton, to oh, no. Are we doing that? Yeah, we're doing that one first. Right, got it. Been a long day. Okay. So the first one we're going to do actually is what I would say is sort of her warm-up and her anticipation. So she's starting off with a pun from the get-go, an insult, you know, whether the kid's going to get it or not. She makes me think of a cat with a mouse. She's got the tail. She's pinned the tail down and she's just kind of poking at it. So let's start reading it and then go into what it means. So who's my first Beatrice? Shannon.
I read this one last time. If someone else, if you want to switch it up, but
okay. Then Anu. I'm doing it wrong. Anu.
Unlike fun.
Unlike fun. Anu. Right?
You got it.
Okay. All right, cool. Unlike fun. Okay.
Unlike fun. All right. So starting from I pray you.
And who do we want for a messenger? All right, Shannon, you do messenger. Jules, you do Leonardo, and I'll read that one hero line.
I pray you, is Senior Montantu returned from the wars or no?
I know none of that name, lady. There was none such in the army of any sort.
What is he that you ask for, niece?
My cousin means Signor Benedick of Padua.
Oh, he's returned and as pleasant as ever he was.
Okay, let's stop there. We know what we're saying here, right? I pray you, Senior Montantu, returned from the wars or no? She's asking the messenger. Is he
back or not?
But immediately making it difficult to answer.
Yeah, it's like she's warming up, sort of thing. I know none of that name, so the poor messenger is at a loss, which is she knew he would. And then even her uncle is like, wait, what? Who? That you asked? Hero knows. Hero's like, she wants to know about Benedick.
Always.
And the messenger goes, oh, yay, you know, he's returned and he's pleasant as ever. You almost get a sense with Beatrice that she's just waiting to see what the messenger says. You know, if the messenger had said, oh yeah, he's there, boy, he's a pill. You know what I mean? It's like the anticipation of, what do I get? What do I get? What do I get? All right, let's continue with, he set up his bills here in Messina.
He set up his bills here in Messina and challenged Cupid at the flight. And my uncle's fool, reading the challenge, subscribed for Cupid and challenged him at the bird bolt. I pray you, how many hath he killed and eaten in these wars? But how many hath he killed? For indeed I promise to eat all of his killing.
All right, here we go. Cat.
Yeah, I've got some interesting notes on this one, but
so set up his bills.
Putting up posters to advertise like some kind of a contest. So the idea, so there are a couple ways to read this. So it's sort of a contest with Cupid. And I'm mostly leaning on Arden, which I thought had the best notes on this, which was you could read it as I'm gonna sort of act like a great lover and take on Cupid, or I'm gonna resist falling in love, and therefore I'll set up like a long distance shooting contest with Cupid.
Okay.
Also, Montanto is, it's a fencing term, and the suggestion is sort of a bragging soldier, right? Which I have to say, I think is also a portrayal that Kenneth Branagh leans into. Like, I think you get his Benedick is kind of bragging. So there's a little bit I see that in his
where the Berdocchio, you call it.
A little bit, yeah. So the interesting thing is, and then we have this in My Uncle's Fool, reading the challenge, subscribed for Cupid and challenged him at the Bird Ball. So like, I'll stand in for Cupid and I'll fight for this guy, right? Or I'll take his side. The interesting thing about my note is that, she could mean, as if her uncle had a fool, an entertainer, like those great fools in Shakespeare. But I also like this note. One of the notes suggested that it could be an elliptical reference to herself as her uncle's fool. And I think considering Beatrice as a fool is in the Shakespearean sense is super, it makes a lot of sense. She's really quick. She's really quick-witted. She's also a bit of a social critic, right? When she's commenting on women, when she's like, heroes, you're cute to speak. Like, I see her very much as sort of the taking on that role of the fool. So that's a possibility. I know you can't play all these, but like think about what makes sense for you. And then challenged him at the Bird Bolt. So Bird Bolt is like a lesser arrow, like it's not really going to do any damage. So either it became sort of a joke or it just didn't really hit. Right. So it was sort of like inviting some kind of a contest either with or against Cupid, which she may or may not have been part of, and then it kind of didn't go off, right? Or it didn't land, or something didn't hit, which to me is also interesting because that's a pretty consistent, I think, idea around Beatrice's wit, that her wit hits the mark, that she can see a church by daylight, that she speaks poniards and everyone hits, right? Like there's, so to me, it sort of taps into that theme, but something went a little mushy. So again, I don't know if she's just making fun of Benedick for resisting love or trying to fight on the side of love and being a lover, and she was or was not involved. Those are all options. It is interesting to me that she also then switches topic pretty quickly.
Yeah.
How many hath he killed and eaten, which she kind of gets wrong. It was a proverbial thing about killing and eating, right? I will eat all of your killing was sort of a proverbial joke because you won't kill anybody, right? So I feel
she is playing on that. Like, he's, saying, whether she said that when he went off to war for real or whether she's saying now, my assumption is he's killed no one.
Yeah.
Because not a great soldier.
Well, I'm going to hit a pause just for a second, and let's go back to Senior Montanto.
Right.
What is that position, and why would she choose that?
I mean, that's great. I mean, it literally is an upward thrust in fencing, right? Okay. So there's sort of the bragging, again, like, is he a bragging, flourishing soldier, which is kind of a theme in Shakespeare. But it also does have a little sexual innuendo, which Beatrice manages to get away with in a way that I find fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I have the pelican right here, and it also says social climber and one who mounts sexually.
Yeah. And one who what?
Mounts.
Okay. And all right, the fencing term.
Yeah, yeah. Mine also like sort of overdone fashionable fencing combat.
Yeah, it's all upwards.
All upwards.
All of it. Let's see if there's an image of it. Hit me.
I love that idea of Beatrice as the fool. Like, that is just beautiful.
I love it.
Right? Especially because she opens and she is clearly outwitting all of these men that are around her.
And she gets away with stuff.
Yeah.
As a fool would.
Right.
A fool can cross a line without losing their life, if that's how it's arranged.
So, but it also, it ties into the next thing where she said, I gave away my heart, right? That's how I'm reading it. Like, I might have fallen for this. Later on, she comes back to that topic of, I did fall for it. I'm not going to fall for it again. So it's interesting that we're talking about this because I only thought that was a one-off reference, but now it seems like she might have been dwelling on this for quite a while.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I bet this is just my thoughts, but I bet she's been wondering about this war and who's getting hurt and things without really saying anything. Okay, so I pray you, it's Senior Mount Onto, returned from the wars or no. So for whatever reason, I'll do some reading on this. Thrusting up, gentlemen. The sexual, I think, is something that we're going to lean towards. But or if you guys have another take on it, it's your Beatrice. It's your Beatrice.
Well, I feel like in some ways it's yes, she's seeing what the messenger is capable of, but also when you really, really care about someone and you don't want anyone to know that you really, really care, isn't it better to try to immediately make a joke out of it and even avoid saying their name?
Right. And also as maybe even a condescending put down way, is that little trickster here, you know? Then something along those lines. Okay, so he set up his bills here in Messina and challenged Cupid at the flight. So that means exactly, so he set up his bills here in Messina. So he plastered his notice of himself or to Cupid and challenged Cupid at the flight. So with his bills, so is she saying that he came to Messina looking for love? He challenged Cupid.
That's a good question.
I
mean, it literally means like a long distance shooting contest.
Yeah.
It does make me think of where he says that he'll be a sworn bachelor for his whole life. Like, has that been a thing for a long time? Is this a reference to some time when he actually was like, hey, what if I, tried out a contest with Cupid? And in that is that he is him like, I'm gonna beat Cupid, I'm not gonna fall in love, Cupid doesn't, or is it like, I'm gonna play a game with Cupid and maybe it'll work out? I don't know.
Right, like as if he's like put himself out there among the lovely ladies of the town and things like that, and he is going to avoid every arrow. He's not going to fall in love. Maybe that's the competition. And my uncle's fool, I really love this idea that Beatrice is her uncle's fool. Reading the challenge, subscribed for Cupid means, sorry, I don't have my.
Said I'll fight for Cupid.
Cupid's
I'll be Cupid's bowman.
So she'll say, all right, I'll step into the fray. Reading the challenge, subscribed for Cupid and challenged him at the bird bolt.
Which is like a little blunted arrow, so nothing, won't do any damage really.
Right. So she challenged Benedick at the bird bolt. What does that
mean, my note says, so the enigmatic sense is either that the fool insisted on using the blunter and less swift weapon in order to mock Benedick's pretensions to be a lady man, which seems on brand for me, and or that the fool clumsily transformed the nature of the contest from swift shooting to more fumbling, childish attempts. I don't like the second one. The first one seems.
I like the second one. I like the first one.
Right?
Yeah.
The other thing, just to throw another spin in here, is apparently flight. It might also be a pun on flighting or flight, which is a Scottish insult contest. Which seems like, I know that's maybe too much. That's a bridge too far, but it is sort of
my brain can't
too, right? No, well, I know.
It's like my brain is like too many things.
I know.
But they're good at insults.
I agree. But it's also, they do, that is what they do, right? When they're together.
And, as the actor go, how the hell do I play that? You just keep in mind a very clear definition of what you're saying. These are your words. So
ignore that.
Well, what I was wondering was Cupid, looking at Much Ado, looking at Midsummer specifically, okay, the idea of Cupid, he shoots an arrow. It's a nice little arrow that goes into the person, and then they fall in love with the first person they see.
Right.
So is the arrow that Cupid shoots a bird bolt? Meaning it's a blunted
Yeah,
little
that's
arrow? Is
great.
that it itself?
Like it went
'Cause
bing
my-
and then bounced
That's a
off.
nice way to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering if that's in self the arrow, or is it like blunting Benedick's? I mean, are we insulting Benedick, or are we comparing ourselves to Cupid? I guess I'm trying to balance two things.
No,
I
this is
wonder
good.
if there's like some kind of like weird like Freudian thing that she's pulling here where she's like, oh, he has this bird bolt that doesn't work on anyone and it would never work on me, nor has it worked on me, but maybe it's working on around the town on everybody
Like a
else.
line?
And
Like
like
pickup line, you mean?
well, something
Yeah.
like falling for him, but in her way, assuring everybody and telling them without telling them that I would never fall for him. We've never had any kind of like, I would never be struck by his arrow,
Right.
even though he's representing Cupid, but telling them in a way that they, without exactly telling them, almost like this kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, it might be a little bit of
Yeah.
a stage, but
To play into the like she's somehow insulting him with the idea of like bird bolt is all you're capable of. That's what we're doing. I forget where I read it now, but one of the scripts, one of the things that they pointed out was that Cupid is notoriously blind in most of Shakespeare's
Right.
references to Cupid, and so is therefore not a good shot. So challenging Cupid, you're challenging someone who is not good at aiming, and that's why love is so chaotic, right? Because it's like you
great,
just
yeah.
fall in love with whoever Cupid's shot, but Cupid is, unpredictable and can't see. So that the whole idea of this being like you would have to be not great at archery or not want serious competition if you're going to challenge the blind kid with the arrows. Anyways.
Well,
the blind kid, Cupid.
blind kid. I'm looking at the language in terms of what's loaded in for her. So for me, it's so set up his bills here in Messina. So he came into town, challenged Cupid at the flight. Yeah, go ahead, try and make me fall in love. And my uncle's fool, reading the challenge, she saw what was going on, subscribed for Cupid, and challenged him at the bird bolt. I still get stuck on bird bolt. But the idea that if bird bolt is the smaller thing that has no puncture, perhaps she shot it, it's her shooting at Benedick, and it's a bird bolt instead of an arrow. I don't know. I'm thinking about what their history is and if there's something in this that also explains what happened between the two of them.
Yeah.
Well, let's keep going and then maybe it'll make more sense as we go on. So, I pray you, how many hath he killed and eaten in these wars? But how many hath he killed? For indeed, I promise to eat all of his killing. Go.
Faith, niece, you tax Senior Benedick too
No,
much.
no, hold on. Go as in what
Oh.
the heck does that mean?
Oh.
Okay.
So I pray you, how many hath he killed and eaten in these wars? So somebody mentioned earlier about the killed and eaten.
Yeah, it's sort of a proverbial thing, right? Like, so I'll eat everybody you kill, haha, because you won't kill anybody. It's funny to me that she says it though. So I mean, it's one of the things I love about the language in this play, because it's so prosy. It feels super naturalistic, even though there's a lot of rhythm and there's a lot of structure. Like, did she misspeak the first time? How many had he killed and eaten? Oh, but how many had he killed? For I promise you. That, like, it's sort of funny. Like, she sort of. It feels like a correction to me almost, but I don't know.
It is.
So,
go ahead.
The public, this feels very public to me, right? Like, again, the straight man, the messenger. Give me something I can now spin into an insult about Benedick publicly, as long as I get to keep thinking about him. I don't know.
Now, this is where we are with the trick. We have to get very specific about what she's saying here.
Well, and I love part of what I love is this like sharp left turn, or what feels like a sharp left turn in the middle of this line into, this bizarre analogy we've got with Cupid and very enigmatical. Even people who know what happens would probably have a hard time following and it almost feels like either she got options, right? She knows that she's like people aren't following this story. She better shift into something that's a little more upfront, or that they did actually have some sort of like send off where she's like, yeah, I'll eat all the ones you kill. And that telling this story about shooting things, like making this big analogy about shooting things, she's like, oh, I have a better one. I have a better one. That thing where it's like, oh, I'll eat what you killed. And either this initial, like, how many have he killed and eaten is, I mean, that's presenting him as pretty monstrous, right? Oh, how many did he kill and eat? Is like if that's your first setup, is I'm making him seem extra like awful and inhumane, and then referencing the fact that I think he actually didn't kill anyone. I don't know.
I'm going off of the bird bolt idea because I'm trying to figure out her thought process here. If the bird bolt doesn't kill anybody and it's really ineffective, then it makes sense that she would then say, yeah, so speaking of that, how successful was he in the war? I mean, he probably didn't do anything because I told him I was going to eat blood. So I feel like in my mind, if I was playing Beatrice, that would be my thought process. I'd be like, challenged him at something totally ineffective. Speaking of ineffective, how ineffective was he? Because I said XYZ. That the last part I'm not sure about, but that is my connecting thought.
Yeah, because I also hear it as a joke structure. I pray you, how many hath he killed and eaten in these wars? But how many hath he killed? For I have indeed promised to eat all of his killing. You know, she's doing, she's setting herself up for the joke. Yeah. I also see as a possibility, I'm still stymied about that moment, that image of bird bolt, but that's, you guys choose for your Beatrices. The answer is in what it means, always, with Shakespeare. So, so it challenged him at the bird bolt. If she's getting to a point where she's reliving in her second, maybe a possible rejection or the thing like the bird bolt, boom, didn't puncture. I'm going to change the subject because if I go there, I'm going to get down. I'm really excited to see him because I'm going to give it to him. There's also that possibility on how you want to play it. I promise to eat all of his killing. And I love, we'll keep moving because I know time-wise we got to go. But pick it up with Leonardo, please. Faith Niece.
Faith Niece, you tax Senior Benedick too much, but he'll be meet with you. I doubt it not.
He hath done good service, lady, in these wars.
You had musty victual, and he hath holp to eat it. He is a very valiant trencherman. He hath an excellent stomach.
And
Okay.
a good, yeah, we can stop there.
That line, let's figure that line out. So, and Hugh had musty victual. So he had done good service, lady, in these wars. You had musty victual, stale provisions. So
Beatrice, right? She takes good service and then she turns it into like food service. As opposed to like...
Yeah, so she twisted it in food and she does it like that. It's a great thing about her. She's so fast. So this poor messenger, he hath done good service, lady, in these wars. You had musty victual, and he hath holp to eat it. It's holp, another just different spelling for help. It's just another, yeah. He is a very valiant trencherman, as in like eating, right? The trencherman is,
yeah,
isn't it? That's what they call your plate as a trencher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
He is a very valiant trencherman. He hath an excellent stomach.
Well, I feel like yeah, she could be picking up on food service, but I feel like she's picking up on this idea of the messenger's like, he did really well in the war. And she's like, oh, he did you a favor. That's what you mean. He ate your bad food for you.
Oh,
he's got a good stomach. Do you know what I mean? So
Hmm.
what she's taking what he means by good service and flipping it and saying, oh, he did you a personal favor. That's why you're speaking highly of him. Because you had boring food and he helped you to eat it. Yes, he is really good at eating. He's got a great stomach.
That is really, as I'm reading through it more, I wasn't quite sure, and then reading through it more, that is a perfectly viable definition and play. So read that line then with that in mind.
So we'll start with
Me?
the messenger.
Or Shannon?
No, with Shannon. I want to hear her read it with that thinking in mind.
He hath done good service, lady, in these wars.
Oh, I can cue you.
Oh.
I want you to read the Beatrice line with the way you just interpreted it.
Oh, you want me to read the Beatrice line?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I
With
usually
that-
say victual because it's like a archaic spelling. I don't know if we mind, but
Have that.
okay.
Okay. He hath done good service, lady, in these wars.
You had musty victual, and he hath hope to eat it. He is a very valiant trencherman. He hath an excellent stomach.
It plays. What are you? Well, I mean,
And then the messenger, a good soldier too, lady.
And a good soldier too.
Soldier to a
Good soldier
lady.
too, lady.
Yeah. So the reaction, so like he's also picking up on the fact that she's trying to say, oh, he did good service off the field in the eating department. And he's like, no, he did good service as a soldier and a good soldier too, lady.
Yeah.
Yep. Cat.
Yeah.
Poor messenger.
I know, the poor man.
He's out of his depth.
Yeah.
He is out of his depth last time.
And so you're like any other anything you want to throw in, Kat?
On the victual eating part?
Yeah.
Or the to a lady? No.
Okay. Then
Yeah, you find a way that makes it work and go for it.
let's okay, let's get going and then keep going through this and then we'll read through it. And then we'll move on to the next one. Yeah. Okay. So Rita, the next few lines, so Anna start with or actually messenger start with he hath done good service, lady.
He hath done good service, lady, in these wars.
You had musty victual, and he hath hope to eat it. He is a very valiant trencherman. He hath an excellent stomach.
And a good soldier too, lady.
And a good soldier to a lady, but what is he to a lord?
A lord to a lord, a man to a man, stuffed with all honorable virtues.
It is so indeed. He is no less than a stuffed man, but for the stuffing, well, we are all mortal.
Love how she just kind of like bats it and bats it and bats it and steers it into a conclusion that she can just pop it. So let's be clear about that. Stuffed with all honorable virtues. So the messenger is saying he is full of great things. He's super Benedick, right? And she takes that and says, absolutely, it is so indeed. He is no less than a stuffed man, which means stuffed man. Can't help.
Sure. It can mean a dummy or a fat man or a rich man. Rich doesn't totally seem to work there. Yeah. So, I mean, if you stick with the food line, right? She could mean he's chubby, he's overstuffed with food.
Right.
I mean, I kind of like that one as sort of a through line.
Yeah. And then we move through to, but for the stuffing, the contents and all this kind of
I love that.
Well,
like what I know, I love that. We're all mortal. It cracks me up. It kind of reminds me of that line, and I just saw Macbeth, but the line where the murderers show up and Macbeth is like, well, we all kind of pass for men. Even men who were like you are, I guess that, well, we're all mortal. It's so funny.
Oh my God.
Another one. He can't help it.
Okay, let's keep reading. You must not, sir.
You must not, sir, mistake my niece. There is a kind of merry war betwixt Signor Benedick and her. They never meet, but there's a skirmish of wit between them.
Alas, he gets nothing by that. In our last conflict, 4 of his 5 wits went halting off, and now is the whole man governed with 1, so that if he had wit enough to keep himself warm, let him bear it for a difference between himself and his horse. For it is all the wealth that he hath left to be known a reasonable creature. Who is his companion now? He hath every month a new sworn brother.
Yeah, let's look at that.
Oh,
This
I love this part.
much clearer, which I love. Because I love that she's also continuing. We're talking about a war ending and that they're coming home from war and our last conflict. And it's a long sentence. She speaks full, like it just comes out now. Or as Dame Edith Evans said, you pull the period towards you.
Ooh.
Sentence.
I know.
Yeah. I like it.
So alas, he gets nothing by that. There's a skirmish of whippets, so he gets nothing by our skirmishes because I always win.
Yeah. He gains nothing, right? She defeats all of his mental capacities, essentially.
Yep. In our last conflict, 4 of his 5 wits went halting off, and now is the whole man governed with 1. She just got him so bad that he's not left with much. And so that if he have wit enough to keep himself warm, let him bear it for a difference between himself and his horse. So what little wit he has left is the only thing keeping him as a reasoning creature to an animal. For it is all the wealth that he hath left to be known as a reasonable creature. That's all he has left. That he's known as being a human guy. It just,
That's the only difference between himself and his horse.
That's right.
Right? The only difference is his own 1 wit left. Okay.
No, a reasonable creature, yeah. As in like a human versus the animal. Yeah.
Capable of reasoning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and who is his companion? And I love that she comes right in with a new question. Who is his companion now? He hath every month a new sworn brother. Anu, why don't you do that speech, that Beatrice speech, and try it like you're having a ball. Just sort of that idea, driving it.
Okay. Alas, he gets nothing by that. In our last conflict, 4 of his 5 wits went halting off, and now is the whole man governed with 1. So that if he have wit enough to keep himself warm, let him bear it for a difference between himself and his horse. For it is all the wealth that he hath left to be known a reasonable creature. Who is his companion now? He hath every month a new sworn brother.
Is it possible?
Very easily possible. He wears his faith, but as the fashion of his hat, it ever changes with the next block.
I see, lady. The gentleman is not in your books.
No, and he were, I would burn my study. But I pray you, who is his companion? Is there no young squarer now that will make a voyage with him to the devil?
He is most in the company of the right noble Claudia.
Oh, Lord. He will hang upon him like a disease. He is sooner caught than the pestilence, and the taker runs presently mad. God help the noble Claudio. If he hath caught the Benedick, it will cost him £1,000 ere he be cured.
I will hold friends with you, lady.
Do, good friend.
You will never run mad, niece.
No, not till a hot January.
Don Pedro's approached.
Great. So it's I do love the thing. It's very easily possible. He wears his faith, but as the fashion of his hat, it ever changes with the next block. So, the block used to form the felted hat, the shape of the, that she's basically saying, he melds and molds into whatever anybody else wants to be liked, essentially. And I just love the whole gentleman is not in your books. So for our audience, being in someone's books is it's like your heart, right? It's being in the books.
In your favor.
Good graces. Yeah.
Good graces. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also
No.
love the undercurrent in the idea that he wears his faith, but as the fashion,
Me
that
too,
it's ever
yeah.
changing, right? That sense of like, oh, he doesn't keep faith. That's not he's always looking for the next thing. He's
Yep.
ready to change it up at any time.
Another clue for us about her,
Yeah.
the opinion she has of him. It came from something
In their history.
in their history. Yeah. I pray you, I live and I would burn my study. But I pray you, who is his companion? Is there no young square now that will make the voyage with him to the devils? Or, somebody will go out and party and whatever with him and wine and women and such. Noble Claudio, Lord, he will hang upon him like a disease he is sooner caught than the pestilence. And the taker runs presently mad. So his influence, God help the noble Claudio. You're gonna have Benedick. Help no Claudio. If you caught the Benedick, it will cost him £1,000 ere he be cured. Okay, so, and we're through that scene. Let's read it in its entirety, all the way through, keeping in mind, and take your time. Because remember, never mistake speed for energy. If you're driving or pulling that period towards you, people listen. They will follow your train. If you're going flip, 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 and missing some of the important words just for the sake of flipping along, you'll lose them. And, the story can be much clearer. So just as a general.
I really appreciate that note, actually, because I know that for me, what I really want to do as an actor is really get my thoughts clear. And sometimes I find that I skip over that process. So there is one sticky point for me. Why does she change from reasonable creature to who is his companion now? Like, what is her thought process? Like, does she see something? Does she think about reasonable creature who is not a reasonable creature? Oh, the young guy who's now his new best friend is not a reasonable creature. Like, I'm trying to think, if I were acting this, like, what would trigger me to say that? Who is his companion now?
It could be playful in terms of, and I don't know if this is a modern take on it, but is it fishing? He's not hooked up with someone, has he? I mean, I'm going to put it into the guise of got a new buddy. They're out whining and dining women, has he hooked up and become buddies with some Lothario? Is he, it's her fishing expedition, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's coming out of the story of like, this is our dynamic. This is how we play together. What's he doing with other folks these days?
Because all she does is ask about him, right? Is he back from war? How many have he killed? Which is sort of a joke, but is he, is he okay? Is
get hurt?
The subtext. And then, and this, who's he hanging out with? What's he doing? And then I think it's interesting to me, that thing, isn't there no young square here? Like, she's giving us a little insight into Benedick too, right? Why is he with like a younger swaggering guy? You know what I mean? I'm sort of curious about that. Like, also, there's often an impulse in the comedies where in order to grow up, you have to kind of step away from your male friendships and step toward a woman, which again, if you're looking kind of thematically at the play, like, it's sort of interesting to me that, that she specifically says a young square. She kind of thinks she knows the type of person he's hanging out with and wants it confirmed. Something.
Yeah, and is his behavior staying the same?
Yeah.
Is he finding a guy to party with? And if he's not, oh no, he's quiet and he reads his books and things like that. There's also possibly the motive of trying to figure out what she's about to see. She's excited and very nervous. Give me some information so I can maybe figure some stuff out.
And also, it feels like a young square would be somebody who would be easily manipulated because they're young and would look
would laugh at Benedick's jokes.
And think of him as wise. And
which Claudio does.
Yeah.
I mean, Claudio's not a ladies' man, right? Clearly not. doesn't know how to talk to women, but you know, that he asks Benedick what he thinks of Hero before he says, I think she's cute. Or whatever.
She's so pretty.
Guy that needs
Touch
pumping
her
up, this
hair.
guy that needs his ego stroked
Mm.
in order to feel like so that Benedick can feel like a reasonable man, reasonable animal.
Yeah.
I like that connection.
Yeah.
That help a little bit? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, when we get back to it, we will also talk about playing with vowels and the pitter patter kind of fun. Yeah. So seeing as it's 9, let's keep moving. Then we can go back and read the whole thing as one. So we can pick up with who wants to read Benedick? Hey, Jules, you read no, we're gonna stick with the same Beatrice. Say Anu Beatrice. Benedick is Jules. Shannon, Don Pedro. So we'll start from, you have it full, Benedick. We may guess by this.
Okay. You have it full, Benedick. We may guess by this what you are, being a man. Truly, the lady fathers herself. Be happy, lady, for you are like an honorable father.
If Signor Leonato be her father, she would not have his head on her shoulders for all Messina, as like him as she is.
I wonder that you will still be talking, Signor Benedick. Nobody marks you.
My dear Lady Disdain, are you yet living?
Is it possible Disdain should die while she hath such meat food to feed it as Signor Benedick? Courtesy itself must convert to disdain if you come in her presence.
Then is courtesy a turncoat?
From there, let's start with that. So even Don Pedro said, truly the lady fathers herself. Nah, be happy, lady, for you are like an honorable father. I think we'd have to go back to no, but her mother hath many times told me so. You in doubt, so that you asked her, Signor Benedick. No, for then you were a child. Lady fathers herself, be happy, lady, for you are like my. Okay, I'm just gonna move to Benedick. If Signor Leonato be her father, she would not have his head on her shoulders for all Messina, as like him as she is. So she wouldn't want to look like dad.
Yeah.
No one wants to look like their dad. No. And it's so funny to me because it seems like with Benedick, this comes in as sort of like, you have somebody comes in with a punchline and then somebody tries to add another punchline. You know what I mean? It almost seems like.
Well, actually, it's the part that you skimmed over at the top. Leonato is making one of his rare jokes in this play when Benedick is like, were you in doubt that you asked your wife if this was your daughter? And Leonato is basically like, no, because you, Benedick, you were a kid, so you couldn't have swooped in and gotten my wife pregnant, is I think the implication there. Like, so perhaps a reference to a bit of the ladies' man thing that's come up a couple times. Like, you were a child, so I didn't doubt.
And it's also what the audience is going to hear. For you, then you were a child, that they might just hear it as sit down, young man, let the adults talk kind of thing too, which is and he's got his own kind of wit. Leonato does. He's I guess you can call him like a statesman sort of kind of thing. He's a noble. I don't know if that's the right estimation, but Don Pedro is the highest rank in this group. So you have it full, Benedick. We have, guess by this what you are, being a man, truly the lady fathers herself. Be happy, lady, for you are like an honorable father. If Leonato, okay, and then it makes the joke about like, wouldn't want to look like dad. And in comes Beatrice. Just think of the anticipation. I don't know if you've ever like not seen someone in a long time. And it's just really, it's wild and it's loaded. So, it's Anyway, okay. I wonder that you will still be talking, Signor Benedick. Nobody marks you. Who are you talking to, Benny? Your joke's kind of falling flat because nobody's listening to you. I feel so
But
sorry.
she is.
Yeah, she is.
Right. She's marking him.
It feels like that line for Benedick, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it almost feels like he's calling her beautiful. Like there's no way and then she comes in. Is there any way where like he could be like, there's no way that could look like her father because for all Messina
I don't
speaking more to her
think
character?
so. I think it's just
okay.
literally like she wouldn't want to look like him.
Yeah.
Because he's so indifferent to her later. Right? When Claudia was like, what do you think of Hero? And he's like, well, I don't know, her cousin's way cuter.
She's got arms and legs.
Yeah.
That's
Good
it.
girl. You look good.
Yeah, basically. Right.
Yeah.
I was just thinking it could be an interesting moment if that was the case, because then she comes in and then he has to make this change and put up his defenses, and then they're at it.
You mean as if she caught him trying to flirt with Hero?
No, I think I'm confusing that. I apologize. I thought that Benedick was talking about Beatrice. But
it's Hero. Like
yeah,
he's talking about Hero. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay, so still be talking. What, my dear Lady Disdain, are you yet living? Lady Disdain is just, there's nothing historically in that, right? He's just like Lady
it's a
Crap.
morality play reference, right?
Is it?
If she were a personification in a morality play, I mean, it's sort of a literary theme, but yeah, I think it doesn't matter. I think he's just he's treating her like she's the embodiment of disdain, and then again, she spins it differently. Of course I am, right? Courtesy would turn to disdain if, right, you came in her presence or whatever.
Yeah, it's the best way to get back. Somebody tries to do a dig, you just take it in and then
She's so
back out.
she's so quick.
I wonder if she scares him. Okay. Is it possible Disdain should die while she has such meat food to feed it as Signor Benedick? And I love that we're still talking about eating and food and consuming, and that's also still there. So you're basically supplying Lady Disdain with plenty to feed on. Sorry, buddy. Courtesy itself must convert to disdain if you come in her presence. So your mere presence changes a person's disposition of courtesy into disdain just because of who you are.
I love that his comeback is just, then is courtesy a turncoat, which is pretty lame.
It's lame.
It's pretty lame. Like, he can't take it and then twist it. He has to now start a whole new strand of I'm loved of all ladies.
Yeah, absolutely. And also sending himself up in the process.
What's great too is he's out of practice. And there's something about that could speak to their relationship going and moving through the play, because he's out of practice. He then remembers who she is and what it was that was so extraordinarily different about her versus the other women he's known. Whether the actor Benedick, wants to take that into whatever. But yeah, he's rusty because there's nobody around him to play with that's at his level either. He's been palling around with the guys at the campfire before the battle and blah, 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 blah. There's no wit that's been, working with him. Okay, so Benedick says, then is courtesy a turncoat, but it is certain I am loved of all ladies, only you excepted. And I would I could find it in my heart that I had not a hard heart, for truly I love none. So he's giving it the old, all the ladies love the Benedick. And I wish I could find it in my heart that I had not a hard heart, for truly and not a one of them. I don't give a flying about any single one of them.
Which
Yes.
also tells everybody that or tells her that he's available.
He's single.
Like they both actually do that. Even when they're saying like, I'm not going to get married, I'm just like you, but that does mean I'm available just in case.
Well, yeah, I'm available too, but I'm not gonna do it. Okay. A dear happy, okay, Anu, I don't think we finished doing it, so.
Okay.
A dear happiness to women.
A dear happiness to women. They would else have been troubled with a pernicious suitor. I thank God and my cold blood, I am of your humor for that. I had rather hear my dog bark at a crow than a man swear he loves me.
God keep your ladyship still in that mind. Do you want to continue or no?
No, keep going. Yeah.
God keep your ladyship still in that mind. So some gentleman or other shall scape a predestinate scratched face.
Scratching could not make it worse, and 'twere such a face as yours were.
Well, you are a rare parrot teacher.
A bird of my tongue is better than a beast of yours.
I would my horse had the speed of your tongue, and so good a continuer. But keep your way. A God's name I have done.
You always end with a jade's trick. I know you of old.
And I do love the idea that he's sort of letting her know that he's single, and she's like, "Me too." A dear happiness to women, that they would have else been troubled with a pernicious suitor. I thank God in my cold blood, I am of your humor for that, my cold blood. That I had rather hear my dog bark at a crow than a man swear he loves me. And his response then is sort of, this is, I've heard it the first time, God, keep your ladyship still in that mind, so some gentleman or other shall scape a predestinate scratched face.
I mean, that's really casting her in the role of like a Kate-like shrew.
Yeah. It gets almost,
Like
it's
you're a
almost a little
scratcher.
mean. Like,
Gets a little mean, yeah.
and like, why? Like, oh, he kind of turns it. But she doesn't need to scratch anybody's face. She just talks them into their stupidity and they leave. Scratching could not make it worse, and 'twere such a face as yours were.
Good comeback.
Getting mean.
Potentially, yeah. Yeah,
Like,
right.
when like a woman that you think is attractive basically rejects you by saying, yeah, I would never take any man, you included, are you going to then jab back and say, yeah, well, you're too ugly? Because that's such a typical male comeback, right?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
very interestingly,
He
I
does
think,
it.
where the Branagh version started making this scene public is when she
Yeah.
is, I would rather hear my dog bark at a crow than a man swear he loves me, kind of gets everyone's attention. And then it does get a little meaner.
It does. I mean, it's just, there's nothing really clever in wordplay about that. I mean, she turns it and keeps it wordplay, but
That is interesting because it's intimate up until then in the Branagh version. And then it becomes very showy, almost like there was an awareness that this isn't the best that I can do, or like that it's not matching the wit that I know that you can dish out. So I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to make it public. And
because there has to be an arc to the scene. If you start really big public,
right,
where does it go? You can see how it goes to mean. I mean, I really would love to see how the Maggie Smith Robert Stevens one plays out, because it sort of becomes this, like, she goes at him, like into him, and it seems like it's going to sort of break into this the crowd.
And she has, up until that point, this sort of grace with the scarf and the ultra femininity going on with the way that she's using it and walking, and then woo, yeah,
you pompous asshole. Yeah, so it ends with the Jade's trick. A bird of my tongue is better than a beast of yours.
But she's still faster than me. It's like parent teacher's kind of weak. It just means like, oh, you just repeat stuff. And she actually doesn't. Like we've seen her be really, really flexible and quick. And then that I like a bird of my tongue is better than a beast of yours is great.
Yeah.
Right. I can make noises. You can't even talk, you're a dumb animal. And then that horse thing and that Jade's trick. So I did look up Jade, and Jade, so it does mean an old worn out horse, like who'll bolt or buck you off or whatever, but it was also slang for a worn out prostitute. And I think I mentioned last time, like rarely used for men. So I think that's super interesting. The other thing I wanted to just observe is my feeling is that like looking over Beatrice's words again, I feel like the word swear is very important to her. She uses it again and again. Do not swear and eat it. And then the whole thing about men, right? Men can just tell a lie and swear to it. There's something about that word that I think is important. It's got weight to it. I don't know what that weight is, and it's not my job to figure it out, but I think that's
Right.
something
But I
I've
think
noticed
it's
about
very
it.
important because I think it certainly does give credence to the idea that if something happened, perhaps it was that he broke his oath
Yeah.
to her. And that was everything.
Also, we're back to words and what they mean, right? I'd rather hear a dog bark at a crow, which is meaningless, than a man swear he loves me, not a man loving me, right? Or a man
Swears that he
right,
loves
but he swears he loves me. Does that mean he does love you really? Are those words true? Seems to me
Yeah.
there's something in there.
Yeah. Let's see, it's almost 20 after. So let's actually keep plowing forward to get a little bit more work done so that next week we can finish up we'll move a little faster. As you play with this, I will point out things like it's fun to listen to like I've always loved they would else have been troubled with a pernicious suitor. It's linked with the end of an S, start of an S. So it's almost like the sound of a snake. Pernicious suitor. Playing with these sounds. My dog bark at a crow that a man swear he loves me. Just as you work on this, play with that. Play with vowels. Find the antithesis and lift them up and set them up so that you can ring the bell in the idea that she's forming. And it's very important with her because she does speak in very long sentences. So it's important to find the train of thought and where she's going. And the way to do it is to make sure you're hitting the correct words. Right? We can get more in depth as we work the scenes. So let's go to the beginning of the dance. Ooh, got a little thunder. Okay. So let's go to 2-1, shall we? So they've just finished supper. And now we're going to start the dance part, the mask. We're going to have a little fun now. So, and I don't know enough about masks, but if it's something that like you have your team, I don't know, your family, you all know who you are and they know who they are. So we're going to, we're going to help each other with the masks and nobody will know. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if there's intrigue in that or if it's just basically show up with a mask. Or you know what I mean? It's I don't know. Depends on how we'd stage it, I suppose. Okay. So yeah, let's get through this one. A lot of imagery. Who read Beatrice last time on this one? Do you remember? Last week?
I think I read it last time.
Okay. Jules, you haven't read Beatrice yet today, right?
Yeah.
Shannon, you read Beatrice?
Not Beatrice, but I've read other things, so we're good. Jules can do it.
Okay, Jules, you go. Shannon, you do Leonardo. Anu, you do Hero and Antonio, whenever they have a couple of little lines.
Okay.
And let's
And Leonato's brother, does somebody want to read that?
That's Antonio.
Antonio.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
For some reason, the Folger version says Leonato's brother.
I have no name.
In this one, it's in the New Cambridge, they insert it editorially for our sake.
Do people get confused? Because I'm like, okay, Beatrice is Leonato's niece. We also have Leonato's brother, Antonio, but he's never referenced as Beatrice's father. So presumably, maybe there was a sister. There was, it's like
they
There's
never
that
talk about
great mystery.
hero twin that shows up at the end. That must be Antonio's daughter or something. Yeah, I was very confused as well.
Yeah, they never discuss her history. If it's something that, maybe her parents were lost at sea, and so brother Leonatus, adopted her. I don't know. Or yeah. So yeah, I've thought about that too. She's a very lone character. Ooh, we got a thunderstorm. Okay. Let's give it a shot. Was not Count John
here at supper?
I saw him not.
How tartly that gentleman looks. I never can see him, but I am heartburned an hour after.
He is of a very melancholy disposition.
He were an excellent man that were made just in the midway between him and Benedick. The one is too like an image and says nothing, and the other too like my lady's eldest son, evermore tattling.
Then half Signor Benedick's tongue in Count John's mouth, and half Count John's melancholy in Signor Benedick's face.
With a good leg and a good foot, uncle, and money enough in his purse, such a man would win any woman in the world if he could get her goodwill.
Ay, my troth, niece, thou wilt never get thee a husband if thou be so shrewd of thy tongue.
In faith, she's too cursed.
Too cursed is more than cursed. I shall lessen God's sending that way, for it is said God sends a cursed cow short horns, but to a cow too cursed he sends none.
Let's stop, because that's going to start. That's a sort of a new beat with the in faith. She's too cursed. So the initials. Tartly, that gentleman. Tartly always makes me think of it. I don't know, the episode of Friends. I don't know if you've ever seen it, when John Lovitz is high as a kite. He's a restaurant owner, and he's coming in to do a tasting menu with Monica, who has no idea that he's high. And he's like, tartlets. 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 And he's just playing with it. And it's so great. When you think about tart, it's something to think about when you play with some of these words. You know what I mean? Is it an onomatopoeia? No, I'm going wrong. What's the anyway? Okay, no, Mothership is not downloading correctly. Okay,
it's not, but there's something to it. Yeah, it like helps you with the word. I think, yeah.
Yeah, that word that is like the word is the sound of the thing it's describing.
Yeah, I mean
that is onomatopoeia. Yeah.
Yeah, it is, but that's not technically.
This is like the sound of the sensation we associate with it or something.
Yes. Right. But it is kind of fun to play, especially with Shakespeare, to help people along. The adjective you're using, just work it, Okay, so how tartly that gentleman looks. I never can see him, but I am heartburned an hour after. So he's a sour-faced guy. Yes, Jules?
Is there has there anything been, I'm sure there has, about Much Ado and the food references and the consuming and like all of this and the palate and the flavor? I mean, like it's in everything that we're reading so far.
That's an excellent question. That is an excellent question. Much Ado.
I mean, just keeps coming up over and over and over again. And I'm sure that there's some kind of like sensorial thing to it of like the drawing to the mouth, tasting again, I don't know. It's just so interesting. It's like, it's very present.
I think that's a fascinating idea. Yeah. At the very
Shakespeare was hungry when he wrote this.
yeah, right?
Totally. He was high.
Okay, so all right.
I mean,
so
there does
might
tend
have
to be like a language or you get sort of a feel for there'll be sort of a topic or a way things are described in a given play. Like Twelfth Night, it's all illness, like love is illness.
Yeah.
Here it is a lot of like
food,
sensing people
and
seeing
eating.
or not seeing, eating. Yeah. And a lot of like some of the sexual innuendo stuff is definitely turning on that eating stuff.
Being full.
Yeah.
You know,
a maiden stuff later comes up with different implications than the stuff man initially. But it does repeat. There are a lot of sort of these repeating ideas. I also like it that she's just correct about Don John. Like she's once again, like she just puts her finger on it.
And no need to be polite about it. That guy just no. And I love in the next line how quickly she brings up Benedick.
Of course.
You were an excellent man that were made just in the midway between him and Benedick. The lady doth protest too much, methinks. The one is too like an image and says nothing. The other too like my lady's eldest son, evermore prattling. So again, it's setting it up with the joke. I got one guy over here and I got another guy over here. Very keeping it clear for the audience, because then she takes it a step further with Leonato's help. Then half of Senior Benedick's tongue and Count John's mouth, and half of Count John's melancholy in Senior Benedick's face. A good leg and a good foot, uncle.
Like Leonato's not that good. Like, what are you saying?
Trying.
I know. Bless him.
I'm just trying to play along.
Probably in his cups,
Yeah. And instead of like taking him down, she just kind of goes with it. There's an affection.
No, it's sweet.
There. Yeah.
She saves him. She picks it
they're
up.
having a good time. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would imagine it's a little bit like being at a state dinner and you have to be very polite and that kind of thing. And then when you get home and you're taking off your socks, you're like, that guy, did you see the guy? But oh yeah, the one from you get to get it all out. But she's no shame. Let's do this. Let's play. So she says, okay, I'll play with a good leg and a good foot, uncle, and money enough in his purse. Such a man would win any woman in the world if he could get her goodwill, if he could win her over. Basically.
I love that she tags that on the end.
Yeah.
Because she's basically, it's set up so much in the way where it's like, oh, if you have all these things, you'll get the good woman. But actually you won't, because you actually just need to get her goodwill, even if you have all those things.
Yeah, it is like this additional, and I found that when I played her, that it was something where I would always catch myself not having enough breath because it was such an attachment to the end.
Well, and I feel like Leonato's response is also to that of like, oh, you've really added too much to this list. You're never gonna find a husband.
Yeah. I used to love that. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Singles, but Bridget Fonda's character, Campbell Scott asks her, well, what do you want in a man? She goes, well, I used to think he needed to have a great job. He needed to, and he needed to say, God bless you when I sneeze. And he said, and now, and she goes, just needs to say, God bless you when I sneeze. And then of course, the callback is later and she's in the elevator with Matt Dillon and she sneezes and he says, God bless you. And this moment of charming as hell. So by my troth, you will never get thee a husband if thou be so shrewd of thy tongue. Antonio, it's very interesting. I mean, old guy, never gonna get a husband if you don't watch that mouth of yours, kind of. And that all depends on also that actor. Are they gonna have a relationship where he's one of those old guys that does this and she can just get back at him and he'll be like, oh, Beatrice, or, I don't know what it is, but so, okay.
Just a couple things. One, before I forget, back on line 9, like my lady's eldest son, is Beatrice talking about her serving lady? Who
No,
is her lady?
it's sort of, it was a construction, like a stereotype.
Yeah.
So it's my, but my lady just meant any lady. So it's like a spoiled older son.
Okay, thanks.
The
That's
Yeah.
Spoiled child.
okay. And then
They would say like a wealthy woman's son or something, right? But they would use my, but it just meant kind of a stereotype.
okay, thank you. It's funny though, it's like I would expect like a kid to be ever more tattling, but it's like the eldest son. I just found that kind of interesting.
Yeah, tattling is more like just talking all the time
Yeah.
about how
Okay.
wealthy you're going to be because you're the heir apparent, blah blah blah.
Like the
Okay.
obnoxious little shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thought I had was that Antonio, at least the way I'm reading it now, he doesn't want to engage in any wordplay. He's just like, yeah, she's just, I just find that funny. He's such a straight man to everything that's happening here.
Really is. He
Yeah.
really is. And he just lays it out too.
Yeah, right.
He's too cursed. Let's just call it what it is.
In the Pelican, it's saying two cursed means two, not also cursed.
Yeah, it's a pun.
Right. And he's saying she's too cursed.
She's like double cursed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Antonio's not dumb.
she's
She gets
cursed.
out, yeah, she wiggles out of it always.
So this is when she pops in. So let's read it from in faith, she's too cursed. And we're
In faith, she's too cursed.
Okay. Who is it? You got it?
Too cursed is more than cursed. I shall lessen God's sending that way, for it is said, God sends a cursed cow short horns, but to a cow too cursed, he sends none.
So by being too cursed, God will send you no horns.
Just if he send me no husband, for the which blessing I am at him upon my knees every morning and evening. Lord, I could not endure a husband with a beard on his face. I had rather lie in the woolen.
You may light on a husband that hath no beard.
What should I do with him? Dress him in my apparel and make him my waiting gentlewoman? He that hath a beard is more than a youth, and he that hath no beard is less than a man. And he that is more than a youth is not for me, and he that is less than a man, I am not for him. Therefore I will even take sixpence in earnest of the bear herd, and lead his apes into hell.
Well, then go you into hell.
No, but to the gate. And there will the devil meet me like an old cuckold with horns on his head, and say, get you to heaven, Beatrice, get you to heaven. Here's no place for you maids. So deliver I up my apes, and away to St. Peter. For the heavens, he shows me where the bachelors sit, and there live we as merry as the day is long.
Right, let's look at that section. So too cursed is more than cursed. So she said, I shall lessen God's sending that way. For it is said, God sends a cursed cow short horns, but to a cow too cursed, he sends none. So we're talking about cuckoldry, right? The horns, short horns. So too cursed is more than cursed. I shall lessen God's sending that way. So is it I shall lessen as in take from God sending that way, or I shall make a lesson? I'll take that and I'll parse out some new lesson, even though it's spelled
Oh yeah, because it could work both ways, right? When you're just listening to it.
But I kind of like the more and less going on.
Yeah, me too. I take it that way. More than cursed, less than God sent it. Right. That's the.
And especially since it too is a pun. She's too cursed.
Yeah.
Then yeah, okay. So too cursed is more than cursed. I shall lessen God's sending that way. God's sending. So God's sending of the cuckoldry. Okay. For it is said, God sends a cursed cow short horns. But to a cow too cursed, he sends none. So she's all for being too cursed. But sends a cursed cow short horns. So a woman who isn't cursed enough, she only gets a little cuckoldry. What is the short horns?
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the jokes about cuckoldry worked both ways. So like a woman who was cuckolded also got horns. Like you don't hear that as much.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so short horns were less harmful, right? In the case of an angry cow. But then also less conspicuous is my note. So she would be less conspicuously cuckolded or cuckolding. It's hard to know like which way this works.
Right.
It sort of resolves itself just if you send me no husband, right?
Yeah.
Then I won't have horns. If you don't send me a husband, then I won't cuckold him or he won't cuckold me.
I feel like the implication is that, like, yes, you're saying I'm too cursed for a husband. Great. Because cursed women get husbands, and that's how they're made cuckolds, right? Like, so
that's how they get horns. Yeah.
So getting a husband actually means that you are cursed. Like, she's making a relationship between being cursed and having a husband.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're too cursed, you get to be free of the husband, so you don't get the horns.
Right. And where we end up playing with the bachelors in heaven. I love the cursed is more than cursed. I shall lessen that. Sending for God said cursed cow, short horns, but with a cow too cursed. It's just delicious. Eating it and playing with it. And so Leonardo, who I have a feeling must be his function when we do these parties, keeps lobbing her, go further, go further, go further. So by being too cursed, God will send you no horns. Just like that. Yeah, just. If he send me no husband, for the which blessing I am at him upon my knees every morning and evening. So there's a little trick that one of my old mentors used to say. He say, lift the words that the audience's ear recognize in terms of sentence structure. So, just if he send me no husband, it'll sort of help lift the idea of it. But they'll know that the structure and the idea is going the opposite direction. Something else to play with. So for which blessing I am at him upon my so she's like, and thank God for that. I'm a bachelorette. Lord, and the idea of it, Lord, I could not endure a husband with a beard on his face. I had rather lie in the woolen. Now, beard, because we're getting into beard, no beard, as in man versus boy. But with a beard on his face, whether the connotation is that.
I mean, really, in the play, a beard, it seems to be associated with the side of maturity, virility, right? There's Claudia later is insulted as beardless.
Did you guys hear that one?
No. Wait, what does Benedick do? Does he shave?
He shaves. That's what's also interesting is like he has a beard and then he shaves. So I don't know. I don't know. So presumably these men also actually have beards. So again, I feel like she's just covering her bases in some ways.
I don't like a hairy guy. Yeah, basically, like I get razor burn when he kisses me, and I just.
But I think it's again like the super nerd in me is also like she's late. A lot of the things that set up here are later more serious, right? Like this image of virility, this image of masculinity is going to be really ugly in the shaming. But here it's just sort of playful, like, he's got a beard, he doesn't have a beard. I'm not interested. Although I do think it's funny, like she and Benedick both talk about in the abstract having very specific feelings about the spouse they do not want.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, it sort of goes down a list that eliminates and ends up being the two of them, Okay. Lord, I could not better. Okay, you may light upon a husband that hath no beard. good point. So what you gonna do with that, Beatrice? And I love this. What should I do with him? You know, like dress him in my apparel and make him my waiting gentlewoman. So the idea that she's maybe suggesting that a man without a beard isn't much of a man. So there's really no way to describe
eliminated all
man.
that.
She is making it real hard for you to find the right guy for her. So yeah, I do feel that. What do I do with him? I dress him in one of my dresses and then she posits it further. So she makes the joke, and then she's like, okay, he that hath a beard is more than a youth. So he's older. He's been able to, you know, sebaceous glands have all been through, and he's got the hair. Okay, here we go with the testosterone. He that hath no beard is less than a man. He can't even grow facial hair. And he that is more than a youth, it's not for me. I'm not into it. Don't want it. Don't want the beard. And he that is less than a man, you know, I'm not for him, or, you know, I'm not for him. So what do? Therefore, I will even take 6 pence in earnest of the bare word and lead his apes into hell. There's some explanation we need to have there.
So for whatever reason, the traditional punishment for spinsters after they died was that they had to lead animals into hell. Sure. What I love about this, though, is the way that she sort of modifies it. Right? She's like, sure, I'll just do it like the one time. Like I'll just drop them off, right? And the devil and be like, go to heaven. And then I'm gonna hang out with the bachelors in heaven, which I kind of love. So she takes this, you know, it's another way for her to say that she isn't gonna get married. But that she's
I love that the bachelors don't have to lead animals in. They're just hanging out in heaven.
Yeah, I guess, you know, those double standards, even back in the day. But I just sort of love that. Like the way that she spins it. So like, well, if I have to do that, I'm just gonna do it the one time and then I'll get to hang out with bachelors in heaven.
Right. Like it's oh yeah, no, I'll do what I'm supposed to do, but then I'm going to top that and I'm gonna go party with the guys.
Which, and again, I think is super, like the way Beatrice sort of navigates conventions, I find super interesting. Like more and more, I feel like I'm seeing this play as, you know, Claudio and Hero and kind of the pitfalls of conventional courtship, right? Yep. As opposed to Benedick and Beatrice, who find kind of their own way through. And I sort of love that in that moment.
And also the idea that words, no proof, words can bring a woman down.
Oh, yeah.
By accusation, by falseness, by that kind of a thing. And yet words are Beatrice's purview. They are exactly what she can do. It's just an interesting juxtaposition of that, you know, that how words can harm women terribly. Because if you accuse a guy of something like that, it's not going to happen so quick. Nobody's going to get Hero's not going to show up to the church and say Claudio did this, because everybody would be like, guys will be guys. It was his bachelor party. So
in this scene, she's also like, she's traditionally in some ways rejecting these labels, right? That being, you know, she's successfully manages not to be called a shrew, but this language is really close to that.
Yeah.
And again, like sort of that kind of finding her own way, and in part because I think her, you know, her character is so clearly charming and merry, you know, that people are charmed by her.
Yeah, they really are. Everybody likes her.
Yeah.
Jules, you were going to say something?
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Two things that just sparked something for me, but I looked up beard and other definitions for it, and it suggested a covering also. So when Benedick shaves his face, it could be that kind of symbol of here I am, of a vulnerability kind of thing, where he's been covered up the whole play.
It is sort of like a mask in a way, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. And then that idea of, oh God, I just lost it. For Beatrice. Kat, what did you just say about the
that she's sort of successfully batting away these potential labels, again, like an interesting contrast to Hero, where like she's getting close to being called, a shrew in this scene with the word curse, and she's instead kind of avoiding that, or her spin on, if I have to lead apes into hell or animals into hell after I die, I'm just going to, she kind of finds her own way through, rather than being kind of labeled or reduced, or even sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like she manages not to be kind of labeled in a way that these, if you think about The Taming of the Shrew, the way Kate is labeled.
Yeah.
I think sorry, go ahead, Jules.
I was just gonna say, I think that it's also just as far as like the acting of Beatrice and I'd be interested to hear what Erica and Shannon, you guys have played her before, this like trap of playing her as if she knows everything already, as if she knows her comebacks, and how she knows that she has wisdom, so she's constantly on the I'm going to one up you, rather than finding the contrast of the vulnerability of really not knowing sometimes and where she's going to pull this from next, like to see the struggle but not show the struggle, if that makes any sense. Because I think that there is a little trap there of coming off as if she knows everything, but I don't think that's the case.
There is that trap. The idea, the hubris of it kind of thing. I made her a very active thinker in the moment, thinking on the line. And the times that she went too far was usually right after a very vulnerable moment. Like when she doesn't pick up on Don Pedro actually proposing. And she goes a little bit further and everything. I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And then, Leonardo helping her out by like, would you go do that thing that we were talking about with the thing? Thanks very much. And she's out of there. And that would be a fun thing to play with in terms of, again, dealing with that scene in the church and where she doesn't have language. So, I don't know.
Because we see the words as a mask too, right? I mean, the wit is a mask, right? I'm not getting labeled, sure, but there's something real under here, or the way that she and Benedick speak to each other.
And that's something to think about when you're playing her. How do you use the words when you're playing Beatrice?
Well, and I think also, I mean, as much as we're talking about like how she wonderfully takes things and spins things, I mean, there's also this density. You get in the middle of some of these things and you're like, how are we getting out the other side? And I think there is that, like, when you're spinning stuff on your feet and you're figuring it out, your story is a little, but you find the good little tag on the end and it works,
Yeah.
And a little celebration in of the moment, like just for herself, kind of like.
Yeah. And also just how much joy she takes in the process, I think, is the other thing that keeps her from being the sort of know-it-all. This is play, and that like there's got to be genuine enjoyment of it as an actual activity.
Still a comedy. Yeah. So yeah. All right, so let's we got 9 minutes left. I think we can move through the rest of the scene, I think.
One thing, could we real quick just touch on In Earnest of the Bear Herd and Lead His Apes into Hell? Can you talk about the mythology or the belief behind that?
I don't know where it comes from, really, but again, the in earnest of would be like
this money.
Like I'm gonna give you this now, or I'll take it, knowing that I will do this job for you, like a down payment. It's like not the only thing I can
the deposit.
little deposit. And then I don't actually, does it tell me where it comes from?
I mean, is Satan What is bear herd? Is Satan
Oh, a bear herd? Oh, they're just somebody
a
who
bear herd?
herds
I mean, like
bears,
herds
literally,
bears,
like a
right? But
shepherd.
Keeps bears.
Yeah. So the
okay.
person who looks after the bears. So again, I don't
Probably
know
the
that
one
it
who
was
takes them
specific,
to
like
bear
a
fighting.
specific animal that the spinsters had to lead into hell. They were just doomed. Oh, it says apes. Interesting.
Yeah, that's the weird thing too to me. Is like go to the bear. So I will even take pence in earnest money of the bear word, and then lead his apes into hell. Like,
That is a little weird. I guess it was just
hurting
a
bears.
more
huh?
The keeper
Any
of
animal, take any.
and then
Animals interchangeable. Bears, apes, same
Anything.
thing.
and then the trained
Oh,
apes
no, sorry. They
are
also looked after trained apes.
Oh,
and the
got
trained
it.
apes are the proverbial punishment of women who die virgins.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Where does this come from?
Bears
Oh
and
my
trained apes. Sure.
God.
Why not?
Okay.
There's a whole. I know we're running out of time, but there's a whole thing. I did a study for in grad school about the fact that women were considered to be the lesser human being because they were considered. It was considered one sex. Humans, one sex. We were just a lesser version because our fallopian tubes and all that kind of thing. It looks like an internal testes and penis. So
Yeah.
we were the perfect sex because it didn't drop and become male.
Yep, that's how that
then
works.
then you go into the duplicity of how like boys played women and then in the breeches roles then played men, you know, that were fake. It's wild. Okay, so I'm gonna do a deeper dive on Ernest of the Bear Word. Okay, no, but to the gate. So I'm not gonna go into hell. I'm just delivering apes. No, to the gate, and there will the devil meet me, like an old cuckold with horns on his head, and say, "Get you to heaven, Beatrice, get you to heaven. There's no place for you maids." So the devil says, "Nah, you're not hanging here." So deliver I up the apes and away to St. Peter for the heavens. He shows me where the bachelors sit, and we live there as merry as the day is long. I just love that.
Yeah, she gets all the bachelors.
She gets
There.
all the bachelors. We're all gonna party, and there's no consequence. We're in heaven now. Who cares? Okay, so let's read well, niece, I trust you will be ruled by your father. That's an interesting.
I love that. Like a counter, right? You're not Beatrice, your hero. You're gonna be ruled by your father.
Yeah.
I know this is the one part of the text where I'm like, wait, could Antonio possibly be Beatrice's father, but he has no authority over her, and he's flipping it and is like, hey, you'll be ruled by your, I've given up on her. She's her own person over there.
Yeah, it strikes me that Antonio's trying to keep this on track.
Yeah.
Because they're about to have the proposal. They've heard about it. They know it's going to be coming.
Which is backwards, also wrong. It's not.
So
men are just so wrong in this play all the time.
Okay, so let's take it. We got 5 minutes. So from Antonio, well, niece, I trust.
Well, niece, I trust you will be ruled by your father.
Yes, Faith, it is my cousin's duty to make curtsy and say, "Father, as it please you." But yet, for all that, cousin, let him be a handsome fellow, or else make another curtsy and say, "Father, as it please me."
Well, niece, I hope to see you one day fitted with a husband.
Not till God make men of some other metal than earth. Would it not grieve a woman to be overmastered with a piece of valiant dust, to make an account of her life to a clod of a wayward marl? No, uncle, I'll none. Adam's sons are my brethren, and truly I hold it a sin to match in my kindred.
Daughter, remember what I told you. If the prince do solicit you in that kind, you know your answer.
The fault will be in the music, cousin, if you be not wooed in good time. If the prince be too important, tell him there is measure in everything, and so dance out the answer. For hear me, hero, wooing, wedding, and repenting is as a Scotch jig, a measure, and a syncopace. The first suit is hot and hasty like a Scotch jig, and full as fantastical. The wedding, mannerly, modest as a measure, full of state and ancientry. And then comes repentance, and with his bad leg falls into the syncopace faster and faster till he sink into his grave.
Cousin, you apprehend passing shrewdly.
Have a good eye, uncle. I can see a church by daylight.
The revelers are entering, brother. Make good room.
Right. Let's see how many we got. 3 minutes. So I love that she steps up, that Antonio is trying to talk to Hero. Let's be serious for a second here. And Beatrice is, one thing, I think she's amped up.
Mm-hmm.
She's juiced. She's ready. And she's also making a mockery of what is about to happen, I think. And to me, the way I played it also was, I'm protecting Hero by making it funny. Don't take this too seriously. You're gonna be fine. There's all these rules, but learn by me. It's fine. You know, that's what I played it as, was as like the elder sister trying to get her laughing and just have fun. You know, so because also she doesn't have a mother. Both Hero and Beatrice don't have moms.
All the missing mothers.
Dead. They have missing mothers. So they're sort of sisters and mothers to each other. So yes, Faith, it is my cousin's duty to make curtsy and say, Father, as it please you. That's what she's supposed to do. But yet for all that, cousin, let him be a handsome fellow, or else make another curtsy and say, Father, as it please me. I think it's pretty straightforward. Love that. Well, niece, I hope to see you one day fitted with a husband. Of all this. Not till God make men of some other metal than earth. Would it not grieve a woman to be overmastered with a piece of valiant dust, to make an account of her life to a clod of wayward marl? Just chew it in your mouth as you do it. It's just, and the idea that her, I mean, Kat, I know you can go deeper into this, but the equivalency for her that a man is about as interesting, worth living with, as a clump of dust.
What's also interesting too is like that part before where she talks about the bachelors in heaven. It's like saying, I don't need any of the men here on earth. That's boring to me. I will only hang out with bachelors in heaven.
Yeah.
It's also, it's funny to me too, because it's, you know, it's certainly, you know, from the Bible, right? Man is fashioned from dust and earth. And then she turns man into wayward marl. It makes it sound like women are better because we came from Adam's rib. I don't know, but I think that's kind of funny. Like but it's clever, you know, as always.
Very clever. But I love her point of like, you know, Adam's sons are my brethren.
That's funny too, right? The spin on
I hold it a sin to match in my kindred.
Yeah.
Yeah, hang out and do all the nasty with my brother. You know, this next one, I'm sort of rushing us through this, but what's fun about this is the equivalent of comparing the steps and the journey to 3 separate dances. And it's really fun to do because you get to watch her spin plates. So I got the jig, got this, and I got this. It's just like dancing, kid. It's going to be fine. You know, it's the fault will be in the music, cousin, if you be not wooed in good time. She's doing the pun on time. Good in good time being like fast enough or getting it in on time, and good time turns into syncopation and the rhythm of music. Tell them there's measure in everything, and so dance out the answers. For hero, I mean, just think of wooing, wedding, and repenting is as grab it, Scotch jig. Not a syncopace, a measure, and then a syncopace. And I actually sort of danced them out a little bit with her, sort of like also for the sake of the audience understanding the difference there. But cousin, you have apprehended passing shrewdly. I have a good eye, uncle. I can see a church by daylight. I always took that to mean also no. I see what's going on. I see all of this, the system, the whole, that there's a slight bite to it. It's not just, I have clear vision. I can, does that make sense, Kat?
Yeah, yes. I think it's also like two things, and I totally understand that as an option. I think it's a great option. I think it's also modest in a way. Like she's just saying, like, I can see the church was the biggest thing in a town. I can see a church in daylight is kind of a funny, yeah, I mean, I can see a church by daylight. But again, I think in the context of the play, where people are gonna not see accurately,
Well,
and even the title, right? Much ado about noting, seeing, right? So it's kind of an interesting line. I think there's a lot of possibility there with where you want to take it.
Yeah.
She also is, to me, this scene, this last two bit, the thing about the dancing and the comments to Hero, like, to me, this is her most kind of fool-like scene in the sense of, and maybe that's also anticipating the party, right? Where, like, I mean, the rhythm of that dance thing reminds me of Feste in Twelfth Night, when, like, what's a drunken man like, right? Or the 3 degrees of drink. It's typical of those very witty, perceptive fools in Shakespeare, and the social criticism, right? And support of Hero.
I would love to like do deep dive into what the people of the Elizabethan era thought about a character like Beatrice.
I know. I have a fun fact for you. I actually have 2 fun facts for you, although we're a little.
Go ahead, hit it until Nathan jumps in.
Okay, so Charles I, so King Charles I, who became King of England in 1625. So Shakespeare had died, but he had a copy of the folio, of the second edition of the folio, and he crossed out the title of Much Ado About Nothing, and he wrote Beatrice and Benedick. Isn't that fun?
Oh my God.
That's one of my favorites. And then the other one you might know is the Latin meanings of the name of Benedick and Beatrice. You know this. So Beatrice means to give a blessing, and Benedick means blessed.
Yeah. And then what is Benedick?
Benedick is a receive, like, blessed, who receives the blessing.
Ah, yeah. Like, what is the benediction at the end of the service? Yeah.
That's not sweet. But yeah, that Charles I thing, I was like going to town on that one.
I love that.
He had his own notes.
Hey, Nathan.
Real quick before we end.
Of course,
Can someone speak real quick to repentance and passing? Because I was a little confused. Repentance from what? Is she talking about death? Or like repentance from being wayward? And then apprehend passing shrewdly? Is that passing as in passing? Like you apprehend the meaning of life or the pace of life?
Good question. So repentance, I mean, she's kind of leaning on this medieval morality play thing. And it was sort of accepted that at the end of your life, you repented. That was sort of your final chapter, was repentance with a capital R. I mean, it's kind of interesting because I also kind of hear it as, are you repenting the marriage? Because the first two are so much, right? The first two are so much about courtship and marriage, and then do you regret it? And then passing shrewdly, passing just means very. So very shrewdly, but shrewdly can also mean satirically, which is kind of interesting to me. So, again, he's saying, you understand things very well, or very satirically. And then she comes back with this, I have a good eye, which is great because, I apprehend because I see.
I make observations.
Yeah.
She's, oh, love her. Okay. There's so much more to do. Anyway, yes.
No, it was a wonderful session. It would be hard for me to pick out any particular favorite because you guys just explored so much, even in the scenes that you did. So just a great week. So thank you so much for all your work this week, everybody. And we'll pick it up again next week and keep going. So yeah.
We will get through all the scenes and
Have-
then we will actually get into the play, like playing it. All right. So get those words in your mouth, get those meanings in your head, make a couple of choice decisions or whatever, and we'll just keep plowing forward.
It's my favorite part. I just get to listen. I get to be the audience.
I love it. Okay.
All right.
Everybody have a good week.
Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.
And thank you all for tuning in, enjoying it. I hope you check out the other sessions, support us on Patreon, subscribe, and all that. So thanks, everybody. And yeah, we'll catch you next time.